Great pleasure to invite onto the stage Suniel Shetty, somebody we've watched so many times on screen, admired him so many times on screen, but who's now inspiring us in a completely different direction because many people have one successful innings. You've had more than one successful innings, many successful innings actually. And in particular, I would like to talk to you a little bit today about what you're doing with entrepreneurs, what you're doing with entrepreneurship, what you're doing with startups, what you're also doing as a lesson for people that if you have fame and success and celebrityhood, how you can actually leverage that in another area, because you've probably done that more successfully than just about anybody else I can think of.
First of all, a very, very good evening. I don't know really, but yeah, it's been a great journey, and that is because it's a completely different world out there now, and even though I've seen the highs and lows as far as acting goes, I haven't had a very good last few years. But then there were a lot of other opportunities, and I believe that if you did encourage these youngsters, the very startups that are looking so brilliant today, it would be good for me, and that's exactly what happened. I was fortunate enough, actually.
I'm going to turn to entrepreneurship and startups and even sport in just a couple of minutes. But let's just go back to your journey, right? Talk us through it a little bit in your own words. From the very beginning, your first memory.
Whoa. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur because I always saw Dad working long hours, but happy hours, successful hours, also giving us all the time in the world. So that's one thing I was very clear about, is that I want to do a particular business. I was very enamored by Dad with what he did in the restaurant business, and I said that's the industry I want to go into. So I think as soon as I graduated, got out of the 10th grade, because then you had 10 plus 2 and plus 3. I started helping Dad with his restaurants because he was also not keeping, his health wasn't very good. So I started helping him in that journey. Through that, did my education, then went on to do HAFT, Hotel Administration and Food Technology, went in Sydenham, went in HR. And then at the same time, because I was a clothes horse, ended up having my own fashion brand called Mischief, which was very, very successful, and a big brand then. So I dabbled in multiple businesses very early in my life, and I saw success. And I think that's what, that's the urge for doing so much more now. Got an opportunity because of my martial arts background. I was training with Sensei Pervez Mystery and doing a show on stage, and a producer friend of mine saw me and saw me do action. And there was this transition period that was happening in the film industry. We were moving from cinema to the DVD world, the video world. So there was this turmoil, and they were looking for new actors because we were talking about mass cinema, and he saw the action that I did and gave me my first break there. And after that, it's been cinema, a lot that I dabbled in from a business perspective, but wasn't successful at all then. And now in the last few years, when I was weaning myself off of cinema, is when I started dabbling with startups, and that kind of worked for me.
So the interesting thing of that story is that it actually began with the entrepreneurship and then moved into films.
Absolutely. It was martial arts. The only thing that I was good at, when it came from a cinema perspective, because I wasn't educated in the world of media or cinema. When I entered, I got a chance, and I grabbed that opportunity with both hands.
But looking at those early years, you may have had a very successful brand, and of course all the work you were doing in restaurant business. But was cinema the ultimate high? Being able to, till today, of course, you can't walk anywhere without people stopping you and posing, asking you. There weren't selfies at that time, but presumably asking you for autographs. Was that, at the end of the day, the most satisfying thing?
I guess. I say I guess because, the love, the affection that you receive, it cannot be compared. And success there brings about a whole lot of change in people around you. They look at you differently. And if you've got your head on your shoulders, and you do the right thing, behave in the right way, there's so much that it gives you that I won't deny that. I'd say definitely that's the biggest high, because the love, the affection that you receive.
Was the environment, though, very different in those days? You're talking about a particular time when cinema itself did go through a lot of ups and downs. There were upheavals, there were problems, there were stories of pressures, there were, commercial pressures. Was that a good time, though, overall?
It was a good time because it let me settle. If it wasn't for the changing times and the coming in of video, I doubt actors like Akshay, myself would even ever get a chance, because the ones who are established, we're facing the same problem now with the coming in of the OTT. So we did get a break then, but it was different because the underworld was ruling then, so we had a lot of pressure from the underworld to do films. The minute you got successful, you had one film, and you wanted to do something better, there was pressure from the underworld to do something. So you had to end up doing cinema that you didn't want to do, and which you couldn't explain to the rest of the world. As to someone says, you're doing a good film now, and then suddenly, why this film? What do I tell? Who do I?
Well, that's what I was sort of trying to allude to in an indirect manner. So that pressure was there, that era. You had to do films that you don't like.
Absolutely.
Otherwise you would get calls and...
Absolutely. Calls and threatening calls, and, they do something somewhere and set fear in you. So this was a constant thing. I think early 90s, all the way up to 1998, 99, this happened, and it happened regularly. So every year or every 2 years, we had to end up doing a film that we didn't want to.
In addition to the underworld issues, the creativity at that time, when you see some of the creativity that you're seeing right now, it seems to be really, really, really good. It's not that there weren't creative good movies then earlier. Were there any particular commercial pressures in addition to the underworld that were playing?
Yes, being an action star, they wouldn't let you do anything else. If I wanted to dabble with comedy, they'd say, "Nahi sir, ye chalega nahi." The distributors call the shots more than the producers. So the minute a film was announced, you had distributors from various states telling you what kind of film they expect. So if it was Suniel Shetty, it was all about brawn, it was all about body, it was all about how many action sequences there should be, what kind of music that they expect. And generally distributors came in with the money, saw a bit of the cinema. If they liked it, they'd pick it up there and then. That's when sale happened. And if they liked it but thought something was missing, they would ask you to add on an action sequence. And when you say, where do you add that on? It doesn't fit in here. They say, nahi, yaar, kisi bhi tarah kar lo. So to close sales.
Sequence in a dream sequence if you have to, but just put it in.
Absolutely. And that's what happened. Dream songs, dream sequences when it came to action, and we did it.
But you have done different films also, so how did you manage to get them?
I guess after seeing, once you establish yourself to a certain extent, you do get the opportunity to choose what you want to and do the kind of films that you want to do. But I also saw a lot of failure, earlier when I dabbled with comedy. And I started dabbling with comedy because every time mom, my wife, my daughter was really young, came back from watching one of my films, and I asked them, what did you think of the film? They said, brilliant, absolutely loved it. But then at the same time, they would ask for a Saradon, which said that it was, which always told them that it was a very heavy film. And that started getting to me. I said, do I need to do something different? And that's when I dabbled with comedy. But
you're really good at comedy. I mean, I'm sure you had a lot of people telling you, I'm sure. That
but that's much later. You've got to attempt it. You've got to do it. But they'd refuse to buy it. So when it's lying in your own backyard, it's very difficult. And it's only when the Hera Fairies and the other films that I did came along, I got this opportunity. But I got this opportunity because there were other actors also. So commercially, it was a safer film to do. So it was always the commercial safety that ruled over content also. I mean, I'm seeing that happening even today in its own way.
So when you look at the industry right now, and then I'm going to shift to entrepreneurship a little bit. When you look at the industry right now, the film industry, obviously we are seeing the power of OTT and the sort of different type of content that is now being created, which must be almost making you salivate and saying, look at this sort of stuff and the sort of opportunities there are out there right now. Is it a very different world now?
It's a completely different world. Of course, great because a lot more talent getting opportunities, kids across the country being OTT stars. But somewhere down the line, I believe that it is also impacting cinema, because cinema still stays commercial. Tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities are the ones that are dominating, and that's why we're seeing the impact on the big screen, that you don't have your numbers coming. At the same time, OTT is not growing, subscription is not growing. So we are at a stage where we don't really know what is the way forward and what we need to choose, because when you talk subscriptions, the subscriptions aren't increasing. OTT platforms are shutting. And so, we are at a stage again as to, should we continue with commercial cinema? Should we do smart cinema? If you're doing good cinema when it comes to content and you're focusing on the content, you don't see box office success. If there's no song, there's no dance. And the proof is, the results in the last few months or years.
People were writing off the Indian film industry until this year. You suddenly had a number of blockbusters. So,
right.
It seems to have almost revived faith to some extent.
Absolutely. And that's why content will always be king. And, the audience, the end user is someone who's going to be of prime importance. And we're forgetting that it's not just the metros, it's the small towns that are making the impact. And that's why if you see regional cinema, it's growing so very fast. Somewhere down the line, I actually believe that we in Hindi cinema have got lost between wanting to make films. Are we making films for subsidies, or are we making films to make money? We're stuck in that. A lot of them are saying we want to do content that appeals to India, but unfortunately, we're looking for subsidies in the UK, in all other places that are offering subsidies. So, where do we stand is the question I've been asking constantly.
We are here in the UAE, so is the international market becoming more important than ever before? I mean, a decent chunk of the revenue now comes from the
absolutely, it does from the overseas market. But the success of the film, it's important that the success begins at home. It's only then that wave carries. And a successful film, it's the word of mouth. Always that makes a difference. Achhi picture hai yaar, achhi picture hai. That's what matters. And that's why you see even regional cinema and language is no barrier. That's thanks to OTT, of course, that reach.
Okay, let's shift to entrepreneurship right now. And at least a couple of the startups that you've been associated with are an extension of the story you were talking about, right? So if it's a fitter or something like that, you've always had that action man, image, and you're a great brand ambassador for that. The restaurants are an extension of what you said you began with and what your father was doing. Was that a conscious decision that this is part of what I've done till now, so I have comfort here?
No, actually I went through a period where every film of mine was failing at the box office, and I realized that it was only because somewhere down the line I wasn't focusing on the content. I have the love, I have the affection throughout the country, wherever I travel, hell of a lot of love, but why isn't it converting into box office success, which means I was going wrong. So I took a step back and said, you know what, I need to take a break. At the same time, Dad got a paralytic attack. He was in bed, couldn't move, and just his right hand moving, couldn't speak. And I got the feeling he wanted me to stay home and not work. And that's exactly what I did. More so because every time I went to work would extend. I would get upset that I wanted to get back home. And it wasn't allowing me to spend enough time with him. So I said, you know what, let me take a break. It's when he passed away after 3 or 4 years, which means my gap was nearly 6-7 years, is when I got an offer to do a reality show. And at the same time, not having anything to do, I put together a show which was more a show for startups. I was working with a television network and did this show called Horses Stable that gave an opportunity, working very closely with Niti Aayog, Atal Incubation Mission, and the startups they gave, and provide a platform for VCs to invest with them. So we were the bridge between these two, and that's where I saw a few good startups, and approached them to give me an opportunity to probably invest with them. And that's where the journey started. After which, my first was a success and sold at great numbers. After that, I've had a lot of startups coming to me and, organically wanting to be me to be a part of it.
And what's the sort of symbiotic relationship? Because they're obviously not coming, they are coming to you presumably for the money, but they're coming to you for a lot more than the money. They're coming to you for guidance, mentorship, perhaps also your role as a brand ambassador.
Absolutely.
What do you hear from them?
Absolutely. I think sometimes it's about mentorship, them believing that I know the subject as well as they do. Sometimes it's about funding and finance, and otherwise it's brand ambassadorship. And most of the time, I stay away from being a brand ambassador because I know it all depends on your highs and lows and how you do. So I'd say rather than take money from you, can I reinvest that in your business if I believe in that business? And that's exactly what I've been doing.
So the sort of money they would give you to be brand ambassador, you say, don't give me cash.
Absolutely.
Give me shares in your company instead.
Absolutely.
So I'm invested in the success.
Absolutely. Of that. Yeah. If I believe in it, yes, for sure. And I'm in the domain that I'm comfortable with, something that is a part of me. It could be health, could be fashion, it could be media, it could be sport. And it's worked pretty well.
What part of that do you enjoy the most? The advice, the guidance, seeing the success, the returns that you're making?
I think the excitement of seeing something new grow. Does it solve a problem? That I think that's exciting. See these youngsters deliver and deliver big, something that you could only dream of. And when you don't have a team, it's a good way to move forward. And I see everybody in my industry today invest with great startups because that's an opportunity. As an actor, it was only real estate that we invested in.
Well, big actors did make investments earlier and tried to get into businesses, but sometimes they were only film related and some of them didn't do well. You're right, there's a lot more success that now seems to be happening with startups. You just saw Alia did with one of her investments and others also. Why do you think that's happening? Is it because it's a sort of a diversified portfolio? It's not only in films or reinvesting the money in films?
Yes, absolutely. And the numbers are much larger today, so the kids need to invest, right? There are great agencies that are earlier they were managers and now they're agencies. So the agencies are looking for so many more opportunities for us and, come with those opportunities. So in both ways, it's being managed beautifully. And when your portfolio can grow and when an actor decides that he wants to do only 1 or 2 films a year, I've completed over 130 films. I don't think this generation can do that in 130 years because they choose to do less, which is a great thing. So they're living their life, enjoying what they're doing, at the same time growing their businesses.
All right. Well, I'm afraid before we end, I have to turn to, a somewhat painful subject, which is the World Cup final. Now, of course, you're Rahul's father-in-law. It must have been how was that entire experience going through you? You must have thought, and I'm sure he felt also, that this time we're going to win it.
It's brilliant. Let me tell you, yes, we lost the cup. That was one bad day. But the fact is that I was Suniel Shetty till yesterday. I'm Rahul's father-in-law now, and that's a feather in my cap. For me, I never use the word father-in-law. I always call him my son because I don't know the father-in-law relationship. But I'm sure each one of us here have felt that. I felt that for sure because it's a part of the family. The love, the affection that this team or sportsmen in future will receive after what they, played the way they have, is unseen. I've never seen this kind of affection. I've never seen this kind of love, this kind of respect. In spite of us losing, I think we Indians now have learned to respect individuals, respect sportsmen, and everything that they do for the country. So hats off. I'm glad. I wouldn't say I'm glad that we lost, but I'm glad that something new, a new respect and a new love for sportsmen and sportsmen have come around. Rahul was just telling me he was coming back from the airport, and right from the time he got out when he was on flight till the time he got into a car, everybody was just clapping for him. And this was after losing. Whereas earlier we'd hear, someone's house being burned, someone being abused,
stones being thrown at people.
Absolutely, in spite of us living in a world that is scary when it comes to social media and trolling.
It's interesting you say that. So Rahul actually feels that there is more love and more affection and more passion for sport now than there has been in the last few years?
After this World Cup, for sure. 45 straight days, 10 straight wins, playing like champions. You have a bad day. You have a bad day, and whatever the reasons being, they did their best. The boys did their best, and you see Rohit leading like a champion, playing like a team. He didn't play. He could have scored another 200-300s if he wanted to, but he chose to give India that start so that the boys followed, and that's exactly what they did.
So do you see India becoming a sporting nation?
Absolutely.
Olympics coming soon.
We've seen that. We've seen that with the Asian Games. We won medals in so many sports, and what more can we ask for?
All right. So cinema, startups, being known as Rahul's father-in-law.
Rahul's father-in-law.
What next for Suniel Shetty?
I always say a step back. I took a step back because my films weren't working. Probably a successful film at the box office, with Suniel Shetty carrying it on his shoulder, not anybody else. So, you wait for that day and work hard. I continue to work. I continue to strive, keeping myself fit and ready for any such job that comes by.
Can I put that to the vote? How many people in this audience would like him to do that film?
It's so sweet. Thank you.
Not putting their hands up. All right, look, we are out of time completely, but Manoj, with your permission, can I maybe take a couple of questions?
Sure.
All right, anybody have a question? Yeah, the lady there, if you can just get her the mic.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
It was brilliant listening to you, and really, really, really empowering words. My name is Purvi Roy. I'm CEO and founder of a company, startup in India. And you are a brilliant actor, and then you invested in startups. Entrepreneurship is the new journey, or the journey you have been through. So I want to understand what, according to you, innovation and leadership, or innovation and entrepreneurship is, or innovation in entrepreneurship, and how do you see India's potential as an innovation or innovative country?
Huge. But I always believe that innovation, tech, and the human touch together is very, very important, and we have that here. We have the people, we have the tech, it's just a perfect combination, and that's why I still feel this is the beginning of that growth period in India. And with the infrastructure developing the way it is, when you travel the length and breadth of the country, nations have been great nations because of the infrastructure that has been there for years with them, and we have it now. So I think it's the perfect time, for young entrepreneurs and startups. In this journey of mine, the one thing that I've seen is, through the show also, that we have brilliant ideas. We've got a lot of investors, great money. It's that management part of it These startups are excited about their ideas, they know their product brilliantly. Is that bridging of that management that is very, very important. And that's why I feel, young, bright minds need to probably take risks and take on equity and become a part of the journey of some of these companies, because then it'll be complete.
All right, I'm going to be greedy and maybe get one more question. Manoj, okay. Lady there, yeah. And then one question here, and then I promise to wrap. Yeah, the lady there.
And I'm glad that ladies are asking me the question, because I never had a ladies audience when I used to do my films. It was always action. Women never reacted to. No, I know, box office.
What makes you think the women weren't watching your action scenes?
No, I don't know. I don't know why I got that feeling, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
Hi, good evening. Great listening to you. My name is Durga Das. I play cricket nationally in India.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
And I captained the US team for many years.
Wow.
Yes. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 14, and I'm currently running a company that makes water from air. And I think both are kind of aligned to what you do. But my question to you was this. Do you think sports people become better entrepreneurs simply because of discipline, perseverance, the ability to win and lose?
Yeah, but later on in life, once you're done with your game, probably after that, because otherwise the focus, the discipline required is unbelievable when it comes to sport. When it comes to cinema, we have so much more. We have so many more people involved in that journey of filmmaking. But when it concerns an athlete or a sportsman, your day begins when the rest of the world is sleeping, and it only ends when you're dog tired. And then success, game after game, being able to achieve the rest of the world, technology, other aspects in the rest of the world competing, especially when you talk about India, it's not the infrastructure that we lack, but the appreciation for all sports. I've realized in India, till you don't win a medal or you're not a hero, people don't encourage that sport. So I believe, because of discipline, because everything is to do with discipline. Once you're disciplined in life, that is freedom for me. You're free to achieve what you want, because this is how I'm going to work, and that's what business even needs. So I think post their prime and post sport, it happens. Otherwise, you're seeing a lot of sportsmen who've also lost everything in their life, internationally. With the kind of monies they made in sports, but they have never been good entrepreneurs.
What actually has been the international experience on this? Both entrepreneurship, people in cinema and sports and others becoming entrepreneurs, being successful.
See, wealth management was always a problem for most athletes. Even in America, you see a lot of the kids going bust because they were never managed right. Luckily, now in India, a lot of management companies, we need a lot more who'd at least manage your wealth right. And that's why I always say after your prime. And especially for actors today, I mean, Vivek is here and he'll vouch for that other than real estate, there's so much for us to look forward to. So we are constantly, wherever I'm traveling, I see anybody young, great idea, a great mind, and you say, fine, I'll back you, let's try and do something, So it is a great period.
So Vivek's smile becoming wider and wider as you were talking about managing your money well. Yeah. No? Okay. That gentleman had a okay, last question, then we are done for time. The gentleman there had a question. Yeah.
Hello. So you mentioned about, you for 6 years you were with your father, and he died. And looking back, you may be very happy that you could look after your father. Maybe compromising your professional entrepreneurship.
No, I didn't compromise. Let me correct myself here. My films weren't working. And I didn't want to do anything that I wasn't going to be happy with. I said, I have this brand, I have a certain respect in this industry, let me keep that intact. I was doing a little work, but then it disturbed me when I couldn't go on time and give him time. So that's when I spent those 4 years, and I actually believe those were the 4 most beautiful years of my life.
That means, you could be with your father. So it makes you happy all the time.
Absolutely.
So you still, another thing, you still do the workouts?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Can't you see
no liposuction, or no steroids, no Botox, no nothing. 63 and running strong.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, thank you.
And if you don't believe him, he'll challenge you to a bunch of push-ups right now. Or anybody else here. All right, I think we should really end out there. Although that gentleman has had his hand up for a while, so I'm going to give him one last question, and then I promise I will end it. Not that anyone's really complaining, frankly, so I don't know why I'm apologizing.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Abhishek. I am a European youth delegate trying to represent Europe at India at European Parliament. Firstly, I'm a big fan of Ahan, sir. So it's a proud...
So sweet. So I'm Ahan's father too.
That's the thing. So I just want to know what one piece of advice you have given him, because I'm a huge fan of him. And secondly, what is one advice you would like to give youth like me to represent India or to work in a versatile way like how you are doing?
See, when it comes to Ahan, I've always tell him honesty is something that is required in anything and everything that you do. Whether it's your own profession, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your own children, you've got to be honest with whatever you do. And because, according to me, telling children doesn't mean too much. But doing what you do and them watching you do what you do is what matters, because they're watching you and they're growing. So it's my behavior that is going to impact Ahan, and that's exactly how I see it. I probably, when it comes to Ahan, the one thing that they say about Ahan is, what a disciplined boy. And that's something that has been there with us right from the days that I first saw Dad, and his sense of discipline and the way he lived his life, making sure that he had time for everything, whether it's his own business, whether it's his family, whether it's his own health. In spite of everything, he kept that discipline and honesty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Suniel Shetty.
Thank you. But I need to say, Manoj, I need to say one thing today. I've never been so nervous. I was nervous today. I don't know why, but is it you? I think it's you.
What did I do? It was never going to be the big fight.
But thank you. Thank you so much for having me.